All right, October.
To give his report first to make it easier for us to probably understand the resolutions, correct?
Pretty much.
Okay. So that might be the new format. We'll see how it works out. So we do have a quorum. Oh, do we are
We are
TV
live.
now?
We're live, yes.
So, all right, so we have a quorum. So the next order of business is number 2, approval of the June 24th, 2025 regular monthly meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, is there, we got a motion and a second. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Everybody's happy? All right, all those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? No one's opposed. So now we're going to the change in the agenda. We're going to hear from Joe first.
All right, so first thing is the Seneca housing projects that we're working on in partnership with them down in Romulus and Ovid. We are still working on getting zoning approval in Romulus for those sites. Last week I went down and talked with the Romulus clerk, who was having difficulty scheduling a ZBA meeting that we needed. So made as many calls as I could, tracked all of them down, and we found a date for the 3rd, Wednesday the 3rd at 6 o'clock at the Romulus Town Hall. We're hoping and expecting that we'll find success there, and that will set up hopefully the final meeting for this, the planning board meeting for approval of the special use permit on Monday the 8th of September. So if we're successful in those two areas, those two meetings, we'll be done with permitting, at least zoning permitting for this project. And that means we will have enough to begin the next steps, which involve some of the resolutions that we have about both of them. So what we need to do is get to a thing called a construction closing, where Seneca Housing is the owner, operator of the project. They're gonna own the units at the end of the day. They're gonna operate them going forward from there. So it's their project. At a construction closing that we will be a part of, we'll have all of the funding sources. So the 1.5 million we got from HCR, that's in Seneca Housing's name. That'll be coming to the table. The 500,000 of ARPA funds and the land bank funds that we're completing the application for right now. So all of that comes together in that time. The stamp plans, all of the actual construction documents are going to need to be made. And bids are going to need to be gathered. And a lot of work goes into setting up the project to get it to the point where we can do that construction closing. Once you get there, we can start. After the construction closing, we can break ground in the spring. With the prices locked in and everything that we need. So the reason the zoning is important in this process is until we're done with this, we don't know 100% where the building is going to be. And if we don't know that, we can't really do anything else. So we're kind of stuck at that at this level. We're a little bit behind the ball. So we were expecting to have the zoning done months ago with Romulus. That was not the case. And we got this rehearing schedule. We're hoping to take care of the issues at this next meeting. So broadly speaking, the two resolutions basically are going to help us get through the next things we need to do for getting the construction closing and administering the next phase of the LBI grant process in general. So I think as well, the resolutions, the first one is with Inland Development Advisors. That's Monica, who we worked with on the plan a few years back, and she's been helping us put all of this in order since. That contract is essentially with Seneca Housing. We are also signing it to provide a level of assurance going forward that we're in partnership with Seneca Housing, that we're doing this with Seneca Housing, and that we're managing a lot of the risk associated with real estate development along with Seneca Housing. And working up to that construction closing for the next couple of months, we'll be entering into some sort of agreement with Seneca Housing, probably even a contract, you might call it, or development agreement of some kind, where all the details of that partnership will actually be worked out. But because we're not there yet, we're just kind of saying that we're in partnership with them. And the funding for this contract is coming out of the project itself. So all of the money that we're committing to this and that Seneca Housing is committing to this, a certain percentage of that, the state lets you pay yourself with. They call it a developer fee, and that's our money. And that is the pot of money that, which they don't have that yet.
Oh, they don't have that? Oh, yeah, I got that.
Which Seneca Housing, will have. What we need to do is help them cover those costs, not just for Monica, but for the design, the bidding, the construction manager to get to that construction closing, where that's where the line of credit comes in as well. So paying for all those things, there's going to be costs associated with it. We can't really touch the money for the project until the construction closing, which is the way these things work. At that construction closing, money can start being spent. We would reimburse ourselves for those costs at that point and pay off the line of credit, essentially. So that's how those two things are kind of working together. And this is the level of detail and capacity and all these things that we want Seneca Housing to have and grow into eventually. Obviously not there yet. Flagra, our other partner, they're there. That's why that one, we spend way less time talking about it. It's way less complicated. All these things they are doing in-house. The funding they're doing in-house, the march towards the construction closing, they applied for the grant in-house, they paid for that, they're doing all of that. We just got to sell the properties. We managed the risk on that front by doing a demo, which we completed. It's a house no longer at 55 Washington. And doing the permitting and doing the initial design work that goes through that process. So all of what we're doing with Seneca Housing is happening on the Flagra end. We just don't need to be a part of it, which is good. And we're hoping Seneca Housing will eventually get to the point where they're able to do more of this on their end and not have to rely on the land bank side so much. But we're not there, not today. So I do have a budget breakdown that was used to apply for the 1.5 million part of that project to hand out if you're interested at the end. But the developer fee portion of it, that's the money that would be available to pay ourselves with the state sets a limit on it. So from the project, and this would be money that we would figure out how to split between Seneca Housing and the land bank. But that's the pot of money that we would need to pay the MMDA contract out of, as well as cover any cost overruns. And if there's any money left over after that, we would need to figure out Seneca Housing was gonna keep it, or we were gonna keep it. But that decision, that'll be in the contract, we're down the road. The other portion of that, you can defer, which means you don't take the money, but oftentimes, especially in bigger projects, that deferred piece of it can convert to a loan, and that could be an option if we need to moving forward. So if there's a cost overrun that blows beyond what we have, and HCR doesn't want to give us any more LBI money or anything like that, we could potentially use that deferred fee for that. If it's turned into a loan, that would not be my suggestion. I hope we get more LBI money. The other thing we could do with it, and this is just being thrown out there as an option, if the board is interested in pursuing anything further, is since we started this process, and we did not know this at the beginning, but Seneca Housing being a nonprofit housing agency, the state, through state law and how things are assessed, they are entitled to a tax exemption for property taxes on this. And when I figured that out, I went, oh, we got to figure out how to pay some property taxes on these. And working with Monica, we tried to figure out a bunch of stuff. Margins are tight from an operating standpoint. That Seneca Housing is going to be managing because they're affordable, and there's expenses with management, maintenance, garbage, insurance, all the stuff. So what we figured out is we could possibly defer a portion of that developer fee, turn it into a loan, and we will get a check every year from Seneca Housing that I could then bring to Les, the finance department, and say, here you go, here's some money for good faith effort to pay an amount of property taxes. It's not gonna be a huge amount of money, but it's something that we believe we can do. We also explored pretty in depth the idea of going to the IDA, getting a voluntary pilot, saying we want to pay taxes, because again, they're not made to, they should be exempt. There's a lot of issues with that. It's expensive. It's just to work with the IDA in the front, there's a large fee that we wouldn't be able to pay for in this budget. And then there was an option of going to the county and getting an individual pilot, apart from the IDA, and then to the town, and then to the village, and then to the school districts, and all of that. Also unmanageable, unworkable. We landed on this as being really the only controllable way to manage the risk of doing anything like this, and trying to give a contribution back to the municipalities. So there's no decision really we're asking you to make on that today. I just want to throw that out there that that's an option. We also don't have to do it at all. If this board in a month or two decides, the $2,000, $1,500 a month from Seneca Housing just isn't worth the squeeze for all of this, then you could decide to not do this, or we could decide that, yeah, it is worth it. We want to give $1,200 to the village of Ovid or to the town of Romulus or something. Like, that's not, I just want to make sure it's an option that's on the table. It's what we were able to come up with. I know that was a lot. So, does anybody have any questions on this?
Doesn't the assessor has to put the tax value? You gotta go through the assessment. You said earlier about the assessment or the taxes are pretty hard to figure out, but that would be up to the assessor.
The assessor will apply a value to it, but because They're a nonprofit that's engaged in their mission of delivering and providing affordable housing. You're entitled to a tax exemption if you're a nonprofit, if the property you're using is the principal thing that your organization is for. So if you're a housing nonprofit, affordable housing, your affordable housing properties are generally tax exempt. We did not know that going into this. That's not how Seneca Housing operated with their handful of units now. It's not how Benzo did it back when he was renting certain habitat properties. When we got the annual operating money for Seneca Housing, they were able to hire an attorney, and Monica also flagged this as we were getting deep into it when I figured out that there wasn't a tax line in these budgets. The lines in their tax line is because margins are so tight and they're eligible for the tax exemption, and this is why we started going down the path of trying to figure out how to pay them out of money. If that makes sense. So the assessor does put a value on it, but that value is not taxed, it's just value.
No, but it's still got to be the assessor's the one that has to put the value. We're gonna cross that and some other stuff, and I argued with Evan one night, and he was wrong. The assessor has to be involved in anything that's to do with the taxes in that jurisdiction.
Correct. So in the assessor's manual, they have that manual. That manual says that this has to be tax exempt. That's kind of the way it boils down.
But it's still assessed at a value.
It's assessed at a value.
It's not draws taxes on it until it's done. Right, okay.
So yeah, there's no decision today. I don't know, Esther, did that sound right?
Mhm.
Okay. Making sure.
Yeah, it was like very articulate the way you explained it, actually. I didn't
Um,
know that.
So, yeah, that was kind of a big update. The rest of them are simpler until we get later in the meeting. But we already kind of talked about the Flagra Village of Waterloo project. So the demolition is done. That's been paid out. We're going to be submitting for reimbursement soon for that. When we hear from the state on Flagra's application for their money for that project, if we're successful there, they'll submit us a purchase offer. We'll sell it to them. Then we're done, and they build it. And that sounds really simple, and I think it might actually be that simple. Pretty close. So hopefully we find out about that soon. We also, at 108 Minder Street, which we got back from dissolving habitat, it's a vacant lot now, and about the first day we had a tree fell over. So we got some quotes for tree removal. There was a low one, I think it was for 4,000.
48,
4,800.
4,800.
4,800. 4,800 from Norcut Tree Services was the low quote to take care of the dead tree that's still standing and some other things over there to get it cleaned up. So it's under 10,000. We got 3 quotes, and we're going to move forward with that pending getting all the rest of the paperwork, contractual stuff. And then the last little thing, our demolition contractor from over the winter never came back to topseed or soil, topsoil or seed the properties, and they are unresponsive. So I've gone out and getting quotes to take care of that before I don't have the money available to do that through the LBI program. So I'm expecting them also to be under 10,000. I've requested quotes from the company that did 55 Washington, just finished that. They did a good job. From Tri-County Excavating, who worked with us a few times in the past on habitat projects, and from Wolverton Services, who has an excavating company and lives next door to one of our former habitat projects on our mind list. So one of those will be the low one, and then we'll go get that done and hopefully have it reimbursed and move forward. So the topsoil thing,